This is part 4 in the final video in our little mini series of hacking Google Cloud Platform or GCP. This is all based on a lab by Pwned Labs on infiltrate GCP via a web app, and up to this point we have done a lot of things. We've done some web app pen testing, we've done some enumeration, we finally got an access token for a service account, we enumerated the service account permissions, and now we're going to focus on some privilege escalation and see if we can retrieve the final flag. Now if you feel lost by everything I just told you, that is okay. That is why I broke this up into multiple parts. So before watching the part right now, I recommend you go back through and watch part 1, part 2, and part 3. This is the final part in a 4-part mini series on hacking GCP. All that being said, let's go ahead and dive in. Another thing to show you is I am experimenting with, let me minimize all this stuff, Pwned Cloud OS. This is a completely free operating system created by Pwned Labs for both red team and blue team in cloud environments. I have a video on how to install this on my YouTube channel, so if you want to get hands-on with Pwned Cloud OS, you can check out the video. I walk you through it step by step, but I've been playing around with the operating system. It is really cool, and I'm just using it as much as I can so I can provide feedback to the developer team and let them know, hey, here are some things that I recommend changing or adjusting. But so far, I'm really enjoying it. Anyways, if we dive back into our notes, I'm going to scroll to the top. We need to pick up where we left off, and we can see kind of our goals right here that we got in the beginning of the scenario. And the one goal that we have is create HMAC keys to move laterally. Also, hey, one more thing I forgot to say. Up above my head, you might notice there's chat. I am making this video while I'm live streaming. These people get to be in the live studio audience. If you want to be in the live studio audience, all you got to do is subscribe to my channel and hit the little bell icon so you receive notifications when I go live. But let's go ahead and create a new section for creating HMAC keys and see if we can figure this out together. So I'm going to go over here, drop down to the bottom, and I'm going to do an H1, paste that in, create HMAC keys to move laterally, and then we first need to figure out what does that even mean. But hey, before we create the HMAC keys, I do have to give you a word from our sponsor. The sponsor of this video is me. So hey, before we go further, check out this video from this cool guy named Tyler. To succeed as a pen tester in 2025 and beyond, you need to understand cloud pen testing. I created an entire course, Introduction to AWS Pentesting, which is 65 hands-on lessons taught by me, a real pen tester, not just a silly InfoSec influencer. This course is available right now for only $34.99. I could have easily charged hundreds of dollars for this course, but I wanted it to be affordable and accessible. Link is in the description. There you go. Check out the course. The price will be going up to $49.99 in the near future, but right now it is $34.99. It's a one-time payment for lifetime access. So if you haven't purchased the course, I recommend it. I think you'll enjoy it. It will take you from beginner level to intermediate. And here's the thing. If you go through my course and you decide it wasn't worth the money, just literally DM me. I will fully refund you out of my own pocket. That's how confident I am in the quality of my courses and the teaching. All right, let's dive back into this and figure out how to create HMAC keys to move laterally. Now, if you remember when we were doing our digging before, we were looking at GCP privilege escalation, and we found this GitHub over by Rhino, and they have a whole blog post and a script on HMAC keys. So I'm going to pull up the blog post first, and we'll go to the script. But let's read about what this actually means. I'm going to scroll through. I'm going to do Control F actually, and type in HMAC, and here we go. There is a feature in cloud storage interoperability that provides a way for cloud storage to interact with storage offerings from other cloud providers, blah, blah. As part of that, there are HMAC keys that can be created for both service accounts and regular users. We can escalate cloud storage permissions by creating an HMAC key for a higher privileged service account, which sounds like what we want to do. Both cloud storage, right? The lab actually points to this as well. So we know we want to do something with cloud storage and we want to do something with HMAC keys. HMAC keys belonging to your user cannot be accessed through the API and must be accessed through the web console. So users have to go through the web console. But what's nice is that both the access key and the secret are available at any point. This means we could take an existing pair and store them for backup access to the account, so you have persistence to the account. But HMAC keys belonging to service accounts, which is what we are doing, can be accessed through the API. So we do not need GCP console or web access, we can do it through the API. But after creation, you are not able to see the access key and secret again. The screenshot above shows a simple command, blah, blah, and it gives us the exploit script. Yeah, if anyone is feeling lost, guys, this is part 4. You can watch part 1, 2, and 3 on my YouTube channel for those of you in the live stream. I'm not going to re-explain everything I've already gone through. But now we want to go ahead and check out this script. Now, I actually had issues with this script in the past, but you can see what it's doing. It's just taking a project ID, the target service account, and an access token, and it's literally just doing a basically a curl request. This is where ChatGPT can be really helpful. We don't need to waste our time trying to make a proper curl request. This is just, I'm not even logged in, free version of ChatGPT. Can you turn this into a curl request for me? Let's see if it can do it. And it looks like it can. I'm going to go ahead and copy that, and we will jump over to our notes, and we're just going to drop that in our notes. I'll do like curl request, paste that in there, but you can see we need a couple of parameters. So one parameter that we need is a target service account. Let's go ahead and see if we can find a target service account. Now remember, in part 3, so the previous part, we began to enumerate IAM. Now IAM in the cloud is identity and access management, and you can think about that as like users and roles and permissions. Well, we enumerated that and we tried to figure out, hey, what users are in this GCP project that we are able to target? And based on the scope of this, and I can show you this if we jump back to the actual scenario, we can see our learning outcomes. We've completed most of these, but now we're here, creating HMAC keys to move laterally, and then leveraging predictable GCP bucket naming conventions. Now, when it comes to the cloud, you have different ways of storing files. In AWS, you have S3 buckets. If you don't know what that is, you should take my course. You will be very familiar with them by the end of the course. In Azure, you have Azure blobs, and in GCP, you have buckets. These are just different ways of storing files within the cloud environment. I like to think of it like FTP in the cloud in some ways. As an oversimplification, but it gets to kind of the core of what these different buckets and storage containers are. So leveraging predictable GCP bucket naming conventions tells us that we need to move laterally to a service account that might have access to storage or buckets. So looking back at the service accounts that we enumerated, let's see if we can find any that have something to do with storage. So I'm going to quickly glance through here. Cloud build, cloud functions. Whoops, I don't know why it dropped down when I clicked there. But what I'm looking at is the role to see anything with storage. Cloud functions, compute service agent, container registry, editor, principal access boundary viewer, security admin, security viewer, logging viewer, network manager, pub service agent, run, blah, blah, storage HMAC, that's who we are, and that's why we have that role. Object viewer, that seems like the most promising. So let's see if we can target this account to generate those HMAC keys. Then we'll have to figure out how to like actually authenticate with those HMAC keys. But we'll say that is our target service account, and we know our project name. So let's just see if we can figure out this request. We bring all this in. We need to fill out the project ID. So grprod2, I believe, is the name of the project ID. We need to grab our access token and paste it in there. So let's go to our terminal. We'll cat out our token.txt. I'm going to grab that full token, jump back over to our notes, and we'll paste in this access token. I don't know if I need to do like a single quote. That should actually be fine, I think, like that. And then we need to give it our service account email, our target service account. So I'm going to grab that. And we'll see what I did wrong. We'll grab this full command and paste it in. And it doesn't look like I did anything wrong. It actually worked. Let's grab all this information so we can add it to our notes so we know exactly what we did. So I'm going to do an H2, generating HMAC keys for the inventory storage service account. And we will drop that right there. So what does this give us? We have our kind storage HMAC key metadata. We have an access key ID, which makes me think a lot of AWS. And for those of you who are like new to the live stream, GCP pen testing is relatively new to me. I do a lot of AWS pen testing in my day job. I do very little GCP. I've only done a few engagements, so I'm still learning it. So like truly, I'm stumbling my way through this and learning as I go. But the access key ID is very similar to an access key ID that we see in AWS. We have our project ID, which we already knew. We had this ID, which looks like the ID is just the project ID / and then the access key. We have a self link. I don't really know what that does, but it seems to be a direct link to the HMAC key. We have our service account email, our e-tag, our state, and then we have a secret as well. But I don't actually know how to authenticate with an HMAC key, so we're going to have to learn about that. We'll say authenticate to GCP with an HMAC key. That's the extent of my sweet Googling skills. Let's pull that up. We have our AI overview. Let's try to read the docs ourselves before we go to AI. All right, so HMAC keys have two primary pieces, an access ID and a secret. We have our access ID and we have our secret. Cool. When you create an HMAC key for a server's account, you are given the secret for the key once, which we have. All right, here's our best practices. Migrating from user account. Okay, how do I authenticate? Use an HMAC key in an authenticator request. For operations in a simple migration scenario that require authentication, you can include an authorization request header just like you do for request to S3. Okay, I want to use it within Google Cloud CLI. Is there a way to do that? And maybe you can't? No, I bet there is. Let's see. What's full migration? There has to be a way to use it from the CLI. I don't want to do it this way. Let's see. GCP HMAC keys G Cloud CLI. How to create, disable, and delete. You'll need to generate a Boto configuration file. Okay. Okay, we have a blog here from Medium. And we already read that. That doesn't show how to actually do it. It just shows it as a exploit or a way to elevate privileges. Yes, I'm a human being. Use HMAC to authenticate requests to cloud storage. Okay. No. I mean, shout out to the blog, but permissions needed for service account. Create a user-managed service account. Permissions needed. Create HMAC keys for the service account, which gives it an access key ID. Create a GCS bucket. We don't need to do that. Define access key ID. Define, geez, this is, this seems complex. Okay, I think at this point, this is one of those things that I've just never worked with. That I really don't feel like stumbling around that long to finish up this video. And it also showcases something really cool about PwnedLabs. So what I love about PwnedLabs when I'm learning something new, especially GCP, is every single lab has a full, detailed, written walkthrough. So when you get stuck, you can check that out. And although I could spend, the next hour trying to figure out how to do this, instead, I'm going to look at the walkthrough, understand how to use HMAC keys, and just make sure I store it well in my notes so that it makes sense to me. But let me scroll through because I think we're almost to the end. I don't want to see too much, but I do want to see how to do the HMAC craziness here because this seems confusing to me. I don't know if it's confusing to you guys in chat, but why not ask GPT for instructions? Here's what I've learned about GPT when it comes to certain cloud stuff. So GCP in particular, it has a tendency to hallucinate a lot, and I feel like we're just going to be more lost. Let's use our, okay, nope. Okay, let's scroll through. We've already, oh, here's what I want to do. With the keys created, input the values as below. Run the second command also to make sure we authenticate using the keys. So this is what I mean. This is all we had to do, I think. And I don't know if if GPT would have helped us. Let's try. Let's see if GPT could have helped. How can I authenticate via the G-Cloud CLI using an HMAC key for a service account? We'll see if GCP would have been able to help. That's what I mean. So GPT just said it's not possible. This is what I mean, guys. LLMs and AI can be helpful, but sometimes when you come to these niche things, such as GCP pen testing and like HMAC keys, it's going to hallucinate and it's not going to lead you to the right path. So it's better, like if you have something like this, I consider this looking at documentation, looking at the walkthrough, but you're going to get a better answer and not fall into a rabbit hole. So I've just noticed that personally when it comes to some type of cloud pen testing. But instead, the command here looks rather simple, so let's go ahead and try this. Let me make sure I save that information to my notes. Okay, I did. So we will do the command, which, what was it? GS config A, got it. Oh, GS util. Gosh, I can't even type this. It's -A. All right, what is your Google Access Key ID? Well, let's grab that from our notes. Control, jump to my terminal, paste in. What is your Google secret access key? Which I think it just means the secret right here. Okay, it created a Bodo config file, but then there was another step. We needed to do gcloud config set pass credentials to gsutil false. I wonder why we do that. Okay, then can we just run commands as like as the service account? I guess so. But it cannot list buckets. That's okay. Before I get any further though, I want to make sure I document this for our notes. So I'm going to grab all of this and we'll copy it and jump over to our notes. And we will say authenticating to the G-Cloud CLI. Once again, when I run across this in the future, now I can come back to my notes, do a Control F, and find exactly what I did. But GPT said it wasn't possible, and honestly, the G-Cloud documentation was bad, very confusing, or I just suck at reading comprehension, but this is a lot simpler than they made it sound. We just run gsutil config-a, and then we config set pass credentials to gsutil false. I think we're doing that so that it uses these creds and not our previous creds that were set up. Now, we know that it worked because when we look at our terminal, when I tried to do gsutil ls, which is a basic command in GCP to list out buckets, you can see that our inventory storage does not have storage buckets list access, but we do know it is attempting to list those buckets. But let's go ahead and figure this out. Jump back over to our notes and remember, if we scroll, well, our first account was able to list buckets. The account we have now is able to do object viewer. So we probably can't list buckets, but if we pick a bucket, we might be able to view the objects within that bucket, potentially. So looking at our buckets, we have gr inventory storage, blah, blah. We'll just start with this bottom one. I don't remember the syntax fully. I'm going to try it, though. I think it's gsutil ls and then gs like so. And then we grab the bucket name, potentially. And I am right. We have a sales export.json file. What we can do now is copy that file. So instead of ls, we're going to do cp for copy. And we can grab this file and paste it to our terminal. And let's see what this sales export is. So we have some secret sales data. I don't know if there's a flag in here. We could cat sales export grep flag. There's no flag in there. So let's continue to look through these buckets. So we have GR inventory storage. We have, it looks like for cloud function storage, we have, okay, data migration sounds like something that might be applicable to the scenario. So same thing as before, we're going to do gsutil ls, but we're going to paste in the data migration. We have lift and shift on a Google Cloud and practical guide to cloud migration. So more potentially sensitive data if this was a pen test, but I don't see a flag. Let's check out this one. Let's go through each one of these buckets and see what we are able to retrieve from them. We have do not delete the bucket, so we definitely won't delete the bucket, and we have export sales at GCS, some craziness right here. Let's go ahead and try that one. Actually, I just need to copy the end here and see if there's any interesting files in here. We have a version 1. And there we go. We have a flag right there. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the flag.txt, change this to CP, whoops, and then do a dot to copy it to my current working directory. That was successful. There is the flag. Now, I'm not going to show you guys the flag on stream, so I'm going to stop sharing just to see if it actually gives me the flag. And that does give you the flag to complete the scenario. But I'm not showing you the flag. I showed you everything that you need to do in order to get that flag. You can do it on your own. But that allows us in 4 different parts. It took us a while to work our way through it, but in 4 different parts, we successfully worked through this scenario. Now, the thing I love about PwnedLabs is at the end of all the scenarios, we also have a defense. So let's learn how this attack could be defended against. I don't know why it freaked out when I tried to zoom in, but let me scroll up to the top. Defense. We saw how a threat actor could leverage SQL injection to get command execution, then access instance metadata. So right there, right, if the web app itself was not vulnerable, we could not have gotten in the first place. But when it comes to doing a cloud pen test, generally the way a cloud pen test works is this an assume breach scenario. So if you get assigned to do a GCP pen test in the real world, you're not typically beginning with exploiting a web app. They will give you the initial low-level creds in the GCP environment, and it's a assume breach scenario. But with these creds, we were able to gain situational awareness, identify resources, dangerous permissions, etc., etc. There are many vulns in the web app that we assessed. I'm not too concerned about that because, you know, I've done enough videos on web app pen testing. I'm curious on the GCP side of things. So ideally, unless there's a real need to, external keys and cloud storage HMAC key generation for service accounts should be disabled. So, I mean, that was a big issue. The service account we compromised had that permission. And we knew from the Rhino GitHub and my own privilege escalation script, or privilege scanning script, that that would be vulnerable. It's disabled by default. However, it was enabled. With the setting disabled, the command to create new HMAC keys for a service account will fail. It is worth noting that a maximum of HMAC 10 can be created per service account, which can make keeping track of who has access, etc., etc. Cloud login should be enabled. Really good stuff. Really awesome lab here by PwnedLabs. So hey, y'all. Thank you for being on this journey with me. We've made it through 4 videos together, and we've done a bunch of work on GCP pen testing. Now, there are more labs in PwnedLabs that I plan on working through, and I will continue to make videos on GCP for those who are interested, because it's a weak area of mine. I need to learn it. One of the best ways I learn it is by teaching. So stay tuned for more GCP labs in the very near future. Shout out to PwnedLabs for the incredible lab and just the awesome platform for learning all of this hands-on cloud pen testing. But thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.